So this is a introduction to this video. It's going to be long. It's going to be a long video. I might break it into two parts. I might not. So I need to say right off the bat that this isn't an instructional video by any stretch of the imagination. The other thing is I was using a machine shop at a private facility. It's a real machine shop. It's a real working business. So I didn't want to take my video equipment there. The other thing is, not for nothing, I'm a novice. I'm a novice with the equipment. So it was much more important to me to learn how to properly use the equipment as opposed to fucking around with my video camera. It's just, it was just the way it was. So there's a bunch of the machining stuff I really didn't get video of. I did shoot some covert video while I was doing some of the machine work, so you kind of get a basic idea of what I was up to. Learning how to use the equipment was much more important to me than shooting a how-to video on something that you could buy for $158. That's another thing that I should probably stress. This thing's $158. I mentioned this later in the video. Now, I made 6 of these because I needed 4 of them, really. I made 8. Well, yeah, I made 6 of these, but I really only needed 1. So I could have just bought one of these for $158 and been done. As it stands right now, I'm a week into this in machine time. I'm not finished yet, and to quote my friend John, don't build what you can buy. And this is really a good example of don't build what you can buy. I did like doing it, and it's fun. The video is going to be a little boring. It's me journeying on, just very similar to right now. But I just kind of thought it would be a pretty cool video. So that's that. So what's Mr. Mike's newest, Uncle Fezzy / Mr. Mike's newest project going to be? Well, the newest project is going to be a little bit of intellectual property stuff and or reverse engineering. I bought this Steady Rest from my glass supply house a couple months ago. Actually, yeah, maybe a couple months ago. And I paid $158 for this thing. And not for nothing, and I shouldn't say this because it kind of like it sounds bad, but the truth of the matter is $158 for this for me is I'm gonna go and I'm just gonna go right out and say that that's a little excessive. That's a little excessive cost-wise, in my opinion. Now I understand retail, I understand a lot of things, and one of those things is you got to make money. I mean, there's money out there. I mean, you got to make money. So and yeah, so you got to make money. I see where there's $158, maybe. My actual opinion is this thing's worth about $100. Yeah, this thing's worth about $100. And to be completely honest with you, I love it. This thing has completely changed my, the way that I work, what I'm able to make and what I'm able to not make, for the better. Now, what do I want to do? Well, quite frankly, I want to replicate this thing to the closest of my abilities and to the equipment that I have at my disposal. So a little reverse engineering is in order here. So I'm going to pop this thing apart. It's got this nice knob here as a set screw. Well, quite frankly, I'm not worried about the knob. I can go buy or make knobs. I don't need a knob. I can just use a double nutted wing nut, which is probably what I'm going to use. For that, it's 3/4 20 threads, nothing special. The problem I have is I don't actually have any machine tools. So my machine tools are limited to a drill press, a wood lathe, a hot saw, and welders and plasma cutters and things like that. But I don't have a lathe, I don't have a mill, and I need both of those items to make this particular piece. So I took a side job on at a machine shop. So I'm going to use my, I'm going to swing a little dick around and ask for some help making these parts. So the first thing that I need to make is I need to make this bush, these rollers. Now, ironically enough, the machine shop that I'm working at specializes in making rollers. So what do I got here? So I think this is brass. I'm relatively sure it's brass, but I went to my local supply house and I ended up having to buy a piece of bronze because bronze was all they had in this length. The other option was either 3 feet of 2-inch diameter OD brass, which would have cost me $300, or 12 feet, which would have been even more expensive. I don't need 12 feet. All I need is a foot. So here's the dealio here. I want to make 6 of these. I have enough material to make 8. I want to make 6. I actually could probably make more than that. So what I need to do is I need to take this piece of bronze. Bronze or brass would work. It doesn't matter. Actually, bronze might be better because it's more thermally stable. And this may actually be bronze. I'm not sure. It looks like brass. It could be bronze. What it can't be is mild steel or aluminum. It sucks because I have a piece of 2-inch of aluminum, which I had originally bought to make these with. I did a little bit of sniffing around and talking to some people, and aluminum is not, the amount of heat that these things have to take is pretty significant. So I can't use aluminum. Expands too much, the bearings will fall out. The bearings. I ordered the bearings from Amazon, of course, because I didn't want to pay $10 a piece from McMaster Carr for these. They mic out at exactly they mic out exactly at .75, which means I have to ream the holes. I can't actually drill the holes. If I thought I could just twist drill the holes, it wouldn't be an issue. The OD on these is less than 2 inches, or is it exactly 2 inches? I forget. Yeah, the OD on these is exactly 2 inches. I actually just calibrated these yesterday. They're actually a little bit under 2 inches. They're 192. It looks like. And it looks like they're 192. The OD on this is over 2 inches. The OD on this is 2113 or 2113. So we got plenty of brass. We have plenty of bronze here. Bronze is relatively easy to machine. Doing them out of stainless was another option, but again, expensive, and stainless is a pain in the dick to machine. And I don't need stainless. So I did some math here, and math says that I can make 8 of these pieces here. So I bought this shaft material. Well, I bought my $80 paperweight here. So this shaft material is a little oversized from this one, which is fine. My assumption is that they machine these down just a hair because they're pretty much exactly the same. This is a shaft. This is a ID on this is the same as this one. I measured it. It's actually not. This is metric. That's the other thing. Is these pieces are all. This is metric. It's just a hair off. Anytime something's just a hair off of a square number, it's either metric, because I guarantee you these things are made in fucking China. This piece is cast. I'm fairly sure it's cast. It looks like cast. If it was me, I would make it out of cast. Actually, I take that back. Now that I look at it, it's made out of two separate pieces of plate that are welded together because there's a plug weld in the bottom of it. I bought a piece of 3/4 inch thick 4 by 4 inch plate, mild plate steel. These are base plates. So the game plan here is to mark these in the center as close as possible, because it's pretty much exactly the same. If I wanted to get fancy, I could mill the corners off of this, but I'm not getting that fancy. So what I'm going to do is I'll just center mark these, punch them. Let's get back to this. So I'm going to cut these with my hot saw to 6 inches long. This is actually a hair too tall for the setup that I have, but it's adjustable. Okay, right? So this is adjustable. This shaft has a flat spot milled on the back side and a flat spot milled on the front side. I'm gonna have to jig up. I'm gonna have to cut all these, jig them up, and use a surface mill or an end mill to mill this flat here and then flat there. It's fairly obvious. You can see it's milled. The other thing I need to do is I need to make something that looks like this. Now, I made a template out of wood here, but after a little bit of thinking, which is always dangerous for me, I actually don't think I need, well, there's no question about it, I don't need these long slots. I could get away with slots half as long, which means I could also get away with these wings half as long, so I have to revisit that. A buddy of mine has a pretty cool robotic plasma cutter arm thingy that we can, his is cool because it's got a trace. We can trace apart and then cut a shitload of them out. As a matter of fact, I might reach out to him today for that. So these slots don't actually need to be milled anywhere near as long. This piece is designed to take up to a piece of 100mm tube. There is no way on the face of the earth I am ever going to use a piece of 100mm tube. It's just not going to happen. And my torch won't do it. I have no need to fuck around with 100mm tubing. The max tube size that I use with my torch is 2-inch OD heavy wall. Okay, so I'm gonna go cut all this shit on the hot saw and we'll come back and I'll show you what I did. Okay, here we are back several hours and a torrential downpour later with all the parts that I'm gonna call say they're ready. That's not square, but that's okay. So I'm thinking if I was going to do this, which I'm going to do this, if I needed to mill 6 of these, I would I'd weld them all together and run an end mill across them this way to knock, to do this side, and then I'd flip them over in the vise and then do the other side. That's my game plan. How the actual machinist is going to do it is, I don't know, but that's how I'm going to do it, or that's how I want to do it. And like I said, it all depends on my choice, or what the machinist has to say. But I saw a guy do it on YouTube, so that would be my game plan. So what I did was, obviously I cut all these, and then I deburred everything because burrs suck. Because burrs suck. And this is what I got. So I have all my tubes are all cut, kind of mostly deburred.
I want to face these, just bang, you know, face. I need to square them all. They're not square. Hot saw is not square. Hot saw isn't even remotely square. Yeah, the hot saw is not even remotely square. So the next step basically is just I'm gonna spray all this stuff down. Oh, the other thing I did was I started to mark the centers of these, but I quickly came to realize that these are not actually square. As you can see, using a centering square, you know, it's square this way, but not this way. So my game plan is to set up a stop in the milling vise using this as my XY. I don't know. So they are 4 inches wide they are 4 by 4, but they're not square. So I just need to drill a hole in the center of these so I can stick that in there. As you can see, they're not even remotely square. And that's because of the tube ends are not square. So I got to fix that. Like I said, I bead blasted everything. So back to what I was saying earlier too. Torrential downpour and the humidity outside is every bit of 90%. Now I'm going to give everything a nice shot of WD-40. And that's that. This is what's going to the machine shop with me tomorrow. And I just hope that I can get this stuff all machined. Now the one thing I do need to do that I'm going to figure out, the flash rust is a huge problem with these. I do want to finish them up. I want to paint them. I blasted everything ahead of time because, well, first of all, mill scale is harder than the steel. So, the other thing I have to do is drill a hole in them. I don't have V-blocks. At least I don't think I do. I know I don't. I never bought them. So I really hope that Jimmy trusts me to use the lathe and I can just do this shit myself. Or a lathe. They have like fucking 5 of them now. Bearings. And my piece of bronze here, which I might actually not put in that bucket. But it is going to get a nice little douche in it. WD-40 because everything's better with WD-40 on it. Yeah. Everybody bitches about WD-40, but the shit works. I've had excellent success with WD-40 over the years. We're doing exactly what I'm doing right now, which is just... Oh, god damn it. Just putting a light coat of oil on those parts. Now this is the piece that I have to figure out, and that I could fire up my plasma cutter and just give it a shot. Okay, it's a week later. Boy, did this turn into a clusterfuck. All right, I don't need these. Well, first thing you'll notice is this piece of bronze is a hell of a lot smaller than it was. The first thing we're going to do is start with my failure. Well, this is my failure. My Chinese plasma cutter will not cut 5/16 inch plate steel. It'll cut it, but it just doesn't cut the way it needs to. So, I gave up on that. I gave up on that part of the project. And I redesigned it, because why not? I have literally been in a machine shop all week, which I have video of. I'm going to put that in. So this is the new design. This is the old design here. Okay. So I had an epiphany and realized that I don't need to adjust these nearly as much as I thought I did. So I made this. These are going to be fixed. They don't need to be adjusted. I am going to make one of these adjustable. It'll probably be this one because the holes are fucky. I cut these out on a bandsaw and then I cleaned them up on the shaper. Shaper. Okay, now these are my bases. If you remember what they looked like when I first got them, you'll know that they were shear cut and looked like shit. I put these on a shaper and I made them all look a lot less like shit. Fuck that piece of paper. These are my tubes. Okay, so these are the base. These are the tubes. Okay. Now you'll notice that kind of falls in the hole. Well, that kind of falls in the hole because, quite frankly, I drilled the wrong size hole. It's not a big deal. It's not really an issue at all. I just I have to jig it up a little differently. My original game plan was to drill this hole this big, drop these in here, and actually weld it from the bottom side so it would be upside down like this in a jig, in a vise. This hole is like way too big. That's my fault. I didn't measure the drill bit after it was handed to me. It's not anybody's fault except the guy who drilled the holes. That was me. That was me. These are my these are this piece. Okay, that goes in there like that. Here's a slug that I had left over. It's all bronze. I don't know what I'm going to do with that, but more things to do. Also, well, I've got all these now. So these were all made on a shaper. you know, insert shaper video. This is a piece of aluminum that I had, which I made all these. These are done. They're going to get, I'm just going to throw these in some solvent and get the blue paint off of them. Maybe bead blast these, I'm not sure. This bucket's got a puddle full of WD-40 in the bottom of it because I didn't want all this shit to rust. And it's working. WD-40, everybody bitches about this stuff, but it does fucking work. Yeah, so these are all done. They're drilled and tapped to take 1/4-20s, and then these will be the nuts. So this is going to get a 1/4-20 countersunk 1/4-20 screw put into it, some red Loctite on that, and it's going to be the screw. This one is plastic. This knob is plastic. Mine are going to be aluminum because I had this material and I wanted to make nuts out of it. Now for the bigger of the fuck ups. And this is my fault. I cheaped out and I didn't buy the right tooling to do this job. I used a boring bar. And the boring bar was only this long, and the lathe I was using is probably close to 100 years old. You know, insert lathe video. So this is my first one, and this one is way oversized. This one's like throwing a hot dog down a hallway. You know, we're just going to save that one for later. Now the bigger of the issues here, the biggest issue here, let me clear all this shit out of the way and show exactly what the problem is. I have to push all these bearings back out of here, and I have to take a piece of emery cloth or sandpaper on a stick and clean these holes up, because this, let's see, like that, and this thing wants to roll like this. See how that's rolling freely? These bearings do not do that. So I have to push all these bearings out, and I have to loosen the holes up like a half a thou. Push the bearings back in. Now, why didn't I do this when I was at the machine shop? Two reasons. One is utter embarrassment that I undersized the holes. and I didn't want anybody to know that I did that. So I just put them all together. Now I'm going to take them all back apart. The other thing is, yeah, that was the number one. That was the number one reason. So I have 10 of these, which I have to take apart. And actually, one of them does spin properly, but it's wobbling. You see the wobble? The reason that's wobbling is because when this one is staked into place, and it's not straight. Now I could probably get away with this, but see how that's spinning like that, nice and free. This needs to spin. They all need to spin like this one. If I have to stake them all, I'm not going to stake them all. It's no big deal. So yeah, that's the next part of this process, is to push all these bearings out. I can do it here at home in the vise. It's no big deal. And then I got to rig up my. I have to rig my drill press to take a piece of emery wrapped around a stick, and I'm just going to go. It literally, that's all it needs, because they're just a little bit tight. And if I take that little bit of tightness out of them, literally half a thou, I can do it. These bearings, or these the lathe that I was using won't hold a half a thou tolerance no matter what. So I was either going to have to do it that way or what have you. So that's the next